Hi there, welcome back to Push and Paint. Today again is going to be a short little lesson. We're going to work on those distant tree lines. Okay, I'm going to show you close up what I do, and I'm not going to speed up or interrupt the process. I'm going to talk you through it. And as you can see, I've already got this kind of blocked out. Now this is just the basic part. This is just putting flat green right on the canvas. Nice and easy to see. So what we're going to do is concentrate on making the dark parts and the light parts of the trees so that tree line really stands out and really pops. Okay, and again, this is just background, but those little details really make your scene look more realistic. All right, so grab your stuff. Let's get started. Okay, so here we are. Now, what we're going to use today is a compound called liquid. And what liquid does is it's a clear gelish kind of goo, and you mix that with your paint and mix it with your oil paint, and what you'll end up with is a very slick paint that goes on over just about anything. Okay, so you've already got your base coat on there. And this paint is going to be, you can let this dry or you can let it get sort of dry. To sort of speed that process up, you can take a shop towel and just lay it nice and flat against it, and it'll soak up that excess oil. Because if you've got too much on there, what you're going to create is mud. Now you might get to see me create mud today because I haven't really let this dry very much. So what we're going to do first is we're going to put our darks, our shadows, in the tree line here. So we got a little bit of paint on the brush with the liquid. You sort of mix those together and get those on your bristles, and we'll see if this beat up fan brush works for me. If not, I'll have to go to a different brush. But what we're going to do is just pay attention to our lines, and you see how that's just sort of going over the tree line there, and it doesn't completely cover our trees, just kind of makes a shadow. And the more liquid you put with this, the further it's going to go. Now I've got a bit of the ivory black and sap green mixed together to create this dark green here. And the background here is just sap green. So we're going to sort of define our trees with our shadows first and put this glaze on here. Okay, and remember, this is just our distant tree line, and we keep working with this until we have what we want. And we just put in our shadows here, paying attention to, you know, where we think our trees are going to end up. Think of these as some big bushy summer trees that have already gotten their leaves all full. A nice bright day. And again, you're going to go back to your canvas, or I'm sorry, back to your palette quite a bit here, because you don't want too much paint on the brush. And if you do have too much paint on the brush, you just want to be careful that you're barely touching the canvas. Okay. And you're just going to put that on there. Just like so. Hopefully my face isn't getting into the shot too much. Nobody wants to see my face. They want to see me paint. So we're just going to put these shadows in here, and we're going to follow that up with our light spots. Now you can use a detail round brush for this. You can use a rigger brush. You can use a liner brush if you're very careful. I've got myself a beat up liner brush that I like to use because its bristles are so damaged that it's already got this kind of spread to it. Okay. And now you can mix a bit of blue in there too. And that also gives that leaf shadow color that you're looking for. That's kind of what we're going for here. So, and again, this is just this canvas board. I usually use full canvases if I'm doing a full painting. So this isn't really going to be a painting so much as it's just a practice area. I've got lots of canvases, but I don't really use these boards too much just because they're so small, and I tend to make my paintings a little bigger. But we just kind of put that on there. And this is called glazing. Using the liquid and your black or your lighter colors. It's a glazing. And this liquid will dry over the course of a few days. Actually, about 24 hours or less. This glaze coat will be dry. Okay. So then you can come back and put on a light coat. Now, I'll show you what's going to happen if we don't wait. So we're going to take our brush and we'll clean that one off. And we're going to come back and do some highlights on here. So now we've got this nice little roughed up brush. You see how beat up that is. Okay. We're going to come through and mix together some lemon yellow. And some sap green. And maybe a bit of that yellow ochre. Okay, what we're going to end up with is a real light green. Almost more towards the yellow than green. And that's kind of what we're going for here, because you end up with this real pale green. Okay, looks like pea soup. Make sure you wipe those palette knives off good. You want to keep them in good shape. And same thing, we're going to mix a bit of the liquid with it, just so we can spread it out a little further. And so it'll kind of glaze over the top of that mid-green color. Okay, now the fun thing you can do is you can paint with acrylic paints and let those completely dry and make sure your acrylics are your mid-ground, your mid-level colors. Okay, and then you come back with the oils and you put on your darks and your highlights. Okay, so now we're just gonna very gently put those on here, and that might be a little bit on the thin side, so put a little bit more paint on there. A little bit more paint, but we're barely gonna touch the canvas. We're just kind of tapping those in. We're spinning our brush around, okay, because we want to maintain some sense of randomness. Okay, might take a bit of the white and mix that with it too, because you want to kind of vary up these greens a little bit. You don't want to have a whole tree line that's the same color, because you don't really see that too often. So we're going to put a little brighter guy in here. There's some mud for you, okay, since you were waiting for it. And you see how oily that spot is. And you end up with a bit of mud. And you can be a little bit more careful than I am as far as letting your paint dry more, or touching your brush to the canvas less. If you push less hard on that canvas, you won't end up with so much paint mixing, because that's what I'm doing, is I'm mixing the paint on the canvas. And as long as you are a bit more gentle than I'm being right now, that won't happen as much. Okay. And we're just kind of keeping those, imagining big trees okay, when you're doing this. These are big faraway trees, and we're just kind of creating the puffy tops of them. But I don't want to lose all my shadows, all my dark areas that are delineating my tree line. Okay, we kind of want to have those separate still. I have a nice pale green color set up here. And this is kind of a mixed paint as you go kind of thing. I know it takes longer to watch, but there we go. Get a nice bright set of trees in there. And you see how I'm leaving those dark spots? That's going to keep my... That makes it look like we've got separate trees. Otherwise we just end up with this big blob of stuff. Okay. See how different colors go ahead and create different things. And we might come back, we might add some more darks. We might add some really bright highlights on some spots. You know, it's however we feel. We can put those in here. Now we might, what we'll do is probably come back along here and kind of darken up there a little bit. So it looks like that's your forest line, where you're going to see more tree trunks and low-hanging bushes and shadow, because that's where you sort of lose the light there. So we'll come back with a bit of the black and the blue and the sap green and get those mixed in there. And very carefully, I got a lot of paint on this brush, but put those along the bottom. You see, we create our shadow. We can go up here, we can make a little shadow up there. We can create some shadow right there. Just all the way across, you see how we end up with our nice little forest line here. And we're going to have some, you know, who knows, you could have a field there, you could have a meadow and everything, and then this is just your background. So you can sort of expand that. But you can see how we go from just a green blob on the horizon and we add highlights and shadows. And we end up with trees. Pretty neat. Pretty cool stuff. You know, you want some darker trees in there, you put a little darker bits. What you're creating here is an illusion. Okay? You're creating the illusion of detail. And when you step back from this painting and you take a look at it from a few feet away, you end up with a tree line. When you're up close, it might just look like a bunch of colors. So make sure every once in a while you're stepping back from your painting and looking and see how it looks. Say, how would that look from looking across the room? That looks like trees. Next up, we'll try something else, see what else we can work with. I hope you've enjoyed this short little tutorial, and keep on pushing paint around.